Today I'm going to share with you the rock's simple technique to solving any problem. I'm also going to tell you about different things that I learned that are going to be tremendously useful to you. I'm going to speak more specifically about how to achieve your goals and make sure you never stay stuck again, or just overall become truly free and successful. Put all the odds to become successful in your favor. And all the things that I learned this week. Because if you're new here, my name is Ivaldi Sako. Hey, welcome. I am the founder of origrowth.com, and here I basically just document what I learn every week to help you become truly free and successful. Free financially in your location, but also spiritually, free emotionally, free socially, be able to do what you want without caring what maybe people think of you. All these things I really care about for my life, and I learn things for my life. I experiment things in my life, and I just give you the most important things that you can learn and take the lesson without the scar. And here, more specifically in this episode, I'm going to tell you about these 10 things. So, how to put all the odds in your favor to achieve your goals and become truly free and successful while doing less things. 2, how I got done in 15 minutes, actually this morning, what I usually takes me 2 hours to do. So you can compress your time and get a lot more productive. How to get clarity in your life and make it easy to focus on the right things. How to develop macro and micro focus. The true reason why you might be stuck and can't seem to make enough or any progress toward your goals. And the 3 reasons why you could be stuck in your business. How to know and what to do when you're stuck and never stay stuck again. And how to develop internal drive and grit to never give up and make sure you achieve your goals, and do this even through the hardest times that may come your way. And how to use the rocks technique to solve any problem. And at the end, if I have some time left, I'll tell you about how to increase your faith, stop sinning, and not let the devil break you to give the highest ROI to God. Now, all these things are very correlated, right? I'm going to give this all to you in the way that I learned them, in the sequence that I learned them, so that you can take the best things in the sequence so that you can actually think for yourself how all these things apply in your life, right? And if you do apply these, let me tell you, your life will change for good. So it is worth it spending a little bit of time listening, watching this podcast, and then taking notes and applying all these things that you learn. I promise you, it is worth your time, and you will not regret doing this. And if you're new here and you think any of these things that I talk about on this podcast is interesting to you, subscribe. Do not forget and miss. Subscribe right now to not forget and miss the next episode. And side note, I'm French, so I'm going to mess up a few words here and there, but bear with me. It's going to be worth it to you. So, first thing, I was reading the book The One Thing, right? And in it said something really useful, which is we don't have willpower at will. We don't have unlimited willpower. And we need to rest and eat to re-energize, to increase again the level of willpower that we have. And so what does make you lose? What makes you lose willpower? This is decisions that you need to make. This is things that you do despite your fears. These are impulses that you prevent yourself acting on. Maybe when you try to act in a different way, you're trying to become a new person, you're trying to implement new habits, all these things take off your willpower, and so at the end of the day you have a lot less willpower, and this makes you a lot more likely to get distracted, to do stupid things, which I did this week. And so fortunately for you, you're not going to have to do the same thing. So the one thing that I thought, and by the way, in the book, he tells you about how judges are 60% more likely to give a positive answer on a case, right? To give a positive, for example, if there's a prisoner, there's a 60% chance increase of likelihood that this judge gives a positive answer to this prisoner and frees him if he's just getting off his pause, or he just ate lunch, right? So right after lunch, he got the time to rest, and now he's 60% more likely to give a positive response, because it takes willpower, and his willpower at the end of like 2-3 hours of work is really decreased, because he just made decisions, and decisions are something that really depletes you from willpower. Now, I believe you can increase your willpower, your total capacity for willpower, but it still diminishes, right? And so to make it as likely as possible that you keep doing the right things and you don't fall off the track. For example, you have a negative habit in your life and you try to get rid of it. To make it as likely as you just don't fall into this again, what you need to do is just replenish, like gain back your willpower by taking some short rests, right? So maybe naps could be good things, but I think the most important thing that you could do, and this is what I didn't do, which made me fall hard this week, it was I slept 8 hours instead of 9 hours. And when I sleep 8 hours, and especially because I did a big leg workout the previous day, I didn't fuel my willpower as much. I was not as rested as possible when I woke up in the morning, and so at the end of the day, I was so tired. I was so depleted of willpower that I got distracted. I was supposed to sleep at 9 p.m. I ended up sleeping for the first time in I don't know how many months, 6, 7, maybe a year, at midnight. It was the first time happening for a long time. And this is all because I didn't have any willpower left. And the one most important thing that I could have done to prevent that from happening is actually sleeping 9 hours. Because this allows me to have an insane amount of willpower. And I think this is how very highly successful people, just like The Rock, for example, do this. They have, they are able to sleep so well that, now I'm not saying The Rock sleeps 9 hours, he doesn't. I think he sleeps 6 or 7, maybe 8. But he's developed the ability to sleep in such a efficient way that he actually can rest enough. And some people just need more or less hours. I know, just for me, I'm always if I don't sleep 8 hours, I'm really not rested enough, especially if I've worked out. Now, if I do sleep 9 hours, I'm full on. I'm full speed. I have all the willpower I need. 9 hours and 20 minutes, this is the good, just juicy sleep that you can get. That I can get, at least. You gotta figure this out for you, but I promise you, if you just try to sleep 1 hour more, there's no way this won't serve you. There's no way. Because you will be able to get more done during the rest of the time that you're awake with this 1 hour additional. When you invest this 1 additional hour in your sleep, you get 2-3 hours of productivity back in your day. So this was the first thing. We have a finite willpower, and this is the one thing that I did this is the one thing that I did not do that just made me lose my discipline one day, and it impacted the rest of the week. The second thing I learned in the one thing was that you need to think big. And you need to think big in the beginning, not in the end. So in the beginning, you're building a company right now from nothing. You need to have the biggest vision possible. If you don't, you will create for yourself walls that you will not be able to break. Because if you, for example, in the book, he gives you an example of Walmart, right? The founder of Walmart structured his company and real estate in a way that allowed him to reduce his taxes. So when he will give his legacy to his family, he will have very advantageous taxes. And this way, he actually saved $13 billion. This is what you can do when you think big from the beginning. And so right now, you may not have thought from the beginning as big as you could. Maybe you can still shift that, right? Shift that, because when you, for example, you will plan for, like, for example, for me, my goal was to create a company that makes 100K per month, right? I was like, let's go, I'm going to do this. And this was as big as I could think. And actually, I could think more, but I thought it was just more logical to start with this goal from where I was. I still think it kind of is, but you still need to think big. Even though you're reaching for a certain goal right now, the bigger vision needs to be as big as you can. And you need to plan for it, to build the foundations for this. Because if you're building a foundation that doesn't think of the biggest, like, for example, just if you want to build a big tower, right? If you build it, if you think of building like a small tower, you will just try to build it as fast as possible, and you will just put one brick onto the next one, right? But if you think that this tower is going to be like amazingly, like, just so big and so tall, it's not going to work if you just put one brick on top of the other, right? You're going to have to put foundations and build a bigger, like a larger pile of bricks to build a structure that will be able to sustain the big tower. If you don't, the big tower will fall and it's not going to work. In the same way, in your business or in your big vision for your life, you need to plan for how big it's going to be, right? And so when I asked myself this question, I was like, okay, what's the biggest possible vision I could have? And you can ask yourself this question as well. What's the biggest possible vision you have? And then you can start learning what you need to do to get there. And you need to know what you need to do, who you need, and how you're going to get there. And so I thought, instead of being blocked, that because I at one point I also put my goal to big, like the big vision was building $100 million a year company. And so this was the bigger vision, with my goal right now to make 100 a month, 100K per month. But I was like, okay, if I'm going to build a $100 million company, I'm going to hit a wall at $100 million, right? I'm not going to be able to plan for $1 billion. So right now I need to, like, when I'll get to $100 million, I'll be capped at that, and I will have to, like, shift completely or create a completely entire different business to be able to get to $1 billion. And so I was, okay, let's take the biggest vision possible. I want to make $1 billion company. Okay, how would I go about this? And then I remembered Alex Hormozy saying something like, you don't make $1 billion, you own your way to $1 billion. And so this means that you need to own things that will make up for $1 billion. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to own $1 billion. So $1 billion is, let's say if I was to do this in a year, it would be like 84 million a month. And I was like, okay, I must own a brand, right? To have like very like high recognition, but also high pricing power, right? Build something unique that people want and will pay a lot of money for this brand and what it means. And I also need real estate. I need to own real estate. I need to own, like, these are just things that I just thought about just like this. I need to build up a world, like Disney World, right? Just a conglomerate of things that I own, and each of these things make a lot of money and make a lot of money on their own. I need to own AI, right? My own crypto, right? Cryptocurrency. I need to own copyright to music, to videos, to movies, create movies, right? Create like just a big conglomerate of things that will build up an insane like value. And then I was like, okay, these are way too many things. And so I was like, what is the essential thing in that? And I thought it's the most important thing is like having a brand and having an amazing service that you can, that is so good that you can charge a lot of money for, right? And so I was like, okay, maybe we could charge like 10 million for one person that gets this thing while building an amazing brand. And I was like, wait a second. I think this is kind of what Alex Hormozi is doing, right? And I think he's focusing on exactly that, the essential. And in the book, The One Thing, he tells you about the determining question. And the question that I asked myself to find all these answers was, what is the one essential thing that I can do that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? And you can ask yourself this question for my business, for my relationships, for my health, for my life, for becoming this person that I want to become, right? Whatever you want to apply this for, it applies. And you can apply this on the micro thing as well. So we're talking right now macro, right? Big vision, big plan, big goal. But you can also apply, like, you can ask yourself what is essential for getting to this big vision, but also what is the essential to do right now in the micro to get to this vision. And other than that, it's the one thing also made me realize that I must make time for my relationships. Right now, you want to succeed, you want to become truly free and successful, you want to be like achieve great things, but I promise you, any of this is not worth it if you don't have relationships. And so for me, the first thing that I sacrifice to achieve my goals and to have more time and to just get more things done is just relationships. I'm just not that good at this game. And I spend almost no time building relationships or taking care of my current relationships. And yet, all of the success that I will build, it's not worth it if I don't have relationships. I don't have good relationships to share this success with, right? And so it made me realize this because he was talking about, the author in the book was talking about how work, you need to juggle, right? You can't have really like true perfect balance in your life. It's like you need to be extreme in some things at some point and then just change the balance, right? Change the things that you do, more of this, more of that at one point. And for me, I'm always like work. And yet he tells you like, you juggle with different balls, right? And the different balls are made of different fabric, of different material. One is in rubber, and it's work. Work is in rubber. But your health, your relationships, the time that is going by, for example, if you are a father and you have kids, you're never going to get back the time when your kids are kids, right? It's not the same. When you see them and they're older and they're getting married and everything, it's not the same thing, right? So these are balls. So the ball of work is rubber. It falls down, it bounces back. The others are balls of glass. It falls down, it breaks, and it breaks for good. And I experienced this in my health and in my relationships. I can tell you, if you lose your health, you lose your business as well, right? The bouncy rubber ball will not bounce anymore because you lost your health and you cannot work anymore. And it's not worth it. Like, I've injured my hands really badly to just achieve 10K per month. It was not worth it. It was not worth it because then I had to stop. And I had to spend like 6 months to a year just healing my hands, right? It's not worth it. So yeah, taking care of your relationships. And so this was the main takeaways of the things that I learned from The One Thing. And because I had already I always had the book on my desk, The One Thing, I was trying more actively to do one thing at a time. And I promise you, doing one thing at a time. Like truly just one thing. Okay, you can say to yourself, okay, for the 45 minutes right now, I'm just going to do this thing. And you just do this. And in every single thing that you do, you just do one thing. To me, it just changed my life. It gives you clarity and a feeling of peace and harmony. Like you can do this and you know you can do this well because you just have to do this. That's it. It's easy. There's no like blurry things that you need to do, no stress, just peace, feeling good and doing this one thing. Also, I didn't consume anything. For a day during this week, for a day, I just stopped consuming anything for like consuming anything, meaning I stopped consuming any new information. This is what I mean. Like no new videos, no books, nothing. No book, no audiobook, no podcast, no YouTube videos, nothing. Right? And I stopped at 7 p.m. and until the next day at 4 p.m. And this day, I was so much more focused. I had such clarity, and I was actually more productive. I could actually get more done because I was feeling like so good. There was no like in the back of your mind. You don't realize it when you're doing it, but when you stop, you realize, oh my God, I was carrying a lot of weight in my mind, in my brain, like a lot of back. A lot of things in the back of your mind that just work constantly. And now you just stop and it feels so good. And when I did this, I actually started to learn better because I started consuming from less sources as well, right? So I just read the book, right? And I listened to a couple of podcasts. And when I did this, from these sources, I've learned so much more than when I used to consume more information. I consumed less information and I actually learned more and have been able to change my behavior more. And this way it was actually like so much more productive. And so this was extremely useful. And one of the things that was extremely useful as well as I did, thanks to this book, I had made a list of 20 of the best and most essential habits that I could put in place in my life. I made a list. A lot of these things were like sleeping at 8:30 p.m., sleeping for 9 hours and 20 minutes. A lot of sleep. It was I think I have the list right now. It was so for example, learn from others that have done what you want to do yourself. Not spend on things that you want, but only on things that you need. Not distract yourself, focus on the essential and all these things. And the thing that I found most useful, I decided to focus on this habit to implement in my life, and it was subtracting things to my life. It was actually just diminishing the amount of things that I do in my life. And the way I did this, I was like, okay, what is the essential thing that I need to do to get this that will make everything else easier or necessary to subtract the non-essential things in my life. And I was like, okay, well, first, it's just making a list of everything that I'm doing so that I know what I can subtract. And so I made an extensive, like big, long, 9-page list of everything that I do during the week in very specific details. Specific details as what I think in this moment of my day, right? And I made a big list. And in this list, I became aware of where I lose a lot of time. What is non-essential? Why do I do this, right? It doesn't make sense. And I became aware as well that I did a lot of things at the same time. And so by doing this exercise without trying to subtract yet, I didn't subtract yet anything in my life. I just became aware, and just because I had the intention of doing less things and focus on the essential, I actually was doing more things and got done things a lot faster because of just this awareness of all these things I was doing. And so I encourage you to do yourself, like try to imagine a typical day in your life. What do you do in your life, in your day? From you wake up, what is exactly, like I'm talking to you like really specific. So this means I wake up, I go to the toilet, I brush my teeth. When I brush my teeth at the same time, I put water on my eyes because I have like just, you know what, the eye shit, right? Then I forgot what I wrote down exactly, exactly the specific things, right? And so then I go back to my room, I make my bed, and I go and I do this many push-ups, right? And you just write down everything that you do in details, in big details. Once you do this, you're going to be able to have you're going to have a bird eye view of your day and all the things that you do. And then you can also list all the things that you do, like no matter of the time, like just all the things that you do in general. So getting distracted, going on Instagram, going on LinkedIn, going on whatever thing you do, just write it all down. And you're going to see it's going to become obvious what you need to subtract and what is really making you move forward. And you're going to be able to just focus on that. Talking about focus, I listened to a podcast of Hamza, right? And he was talking about macro and micro focus, and I found this extremely useful because I didn't realize I didn't have one of them. And usually we don't have one of them, right? Usually there's one that you're better at than the other. And he was talking about how his strong suit is being micro focused. And I realized this is my weak thing. The weak thing that I'm just not good at is micro focus. I'm pretty good at macro focus. So what is the difference, first of all, on micro and macro focus? And I'm also to get to the root of, oh my God, it's already like been 30 minutes. I haven't gotten to half of what I wanted to say. So I'll get to it as fast as I can. So focus, micro and macro focus. Micro, do you get distracted during the task that you have to do, or you are fully focused, right? And this is the thing I struggle with the most. Like in the thing, I have some kind of just ADHD since I was a kid. I think I'm always distracted in my thoughts. I'm always distracted very easily, and I can barely like focus like in the micro for like 3 hours. But then I just get like very distracted. Sometimes even in this period of time of deep work, I just get distracted. And the way to fix that is meditation. And I had stopped meditating and focusing on my breath and trying to control my thoughts. And so I think this is what I need to get back into it. So maybe if you struggle with micro focus, when on the task at hand you just get distracted here and there, meditate. Start just focusing on your breath and realizing when your mind gets distracted and coming back onto the breath. Micro focus. This is what I think I'm better at. Not that great, but still better at is, do you stay focused on your macro goals during the year or multiple years? Or do you switch goals in the course of a month? Like you stay focused on this thing for a month and then you get distracted, or you get shiny object syndrome, right? You just switch business model, or you maybe do something else. You add, you find a new girlfriend, and so you spend a lot of time with them, and then you just get distracted from your goals on a yearly basis, on 6 months, right? Something like that, maybe even longer than that. For me, I think I've never been able to really focus on one thing and one business model and like one exact business for like more than 3 years. So at a time. And even I think when I was in school, when I was in college, I just did a 3-year degree and then I just stopped. And even in that, before that, I just was getting very distracted. I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And you got to be able to like have macro focus and micro focus. And I heard Alex Hermosi talk about something really useful about this, which was he struggles as well to be macro focused. Or micro focused. I think he struggles to be micro focused. And to prevent himself from going astray, he just does different things and uses his creative juice, right? He's like his maybe some kind of ADHD toward like different ideas for this business or anything. He uses it for his macro goal. So he has this macro goal, and he just allows himself to do different things in some part of his day that still help toward that direction of his vision. So this was on the focus, and then I listened to Joko Willink on the Diary of a CEO, and he was talking about strong reason why, and I also listened to Ed about this strong reasons why on the Ed Mylett podcast. And I thought I'll talk about Ed Mylett first. Well, actually, I think I'll just talk about Joko Willink, because this actually, I think, served me the most. Even though what Ed Mylett said was pretty useful as well. Anyway, so Joko Willink on the Diary of a CEO, he was talking about extreme ownership, about grit, and how to like have a strong enough why to never quit and get to your goals. Because this is the most important thing. If you want to get through anything, you need to have a strong enough why. Just like you're just absolutely determined. There's no reason, there's no way you're not going to do what you said you're going to do. There's no way. You just decided and determined to get there, and no matter what it takes, you just will suffer any suffering it takes to get there. Now, the way to do this, in the Ed Mylett story, he was talking about how a smart doctor, made him see that he needed to make some changes on his health. By when he got the results, he was like, "Doctor, are you Ed Mylett?" He was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe these arteries are in this young of a body." And he was telling this to Ed Mylett the first time he just saw him, right? After the result of his exam. And Ed Mylett was like, "Oh my God, what are the results? What's happening?" Right? So he got his attention. So this was the first thing. He got his attention. And then he started asking him questions to get leverage over him, right? To know what is important to him, right? To know what matters to him. And he asked him, "Are you married? And do you have kids?" And he said, "Yes, I have a boy and a young girl." "Okay, what's the name of your young girl? Of your girl?" And he was saying she's name is Bella, and she's 6 months old. And he was like, "Do you want to be there for your daughter's wedding and walk her down the aisle?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Oh, do you want to be the man that just dances with her first at her wedding? Do you want to be there for your daughter's wedding?" And he was like, "Well, yes, of course." And then he realized that, okay, he might have messed up. Like the results are really important. And then he told him, "Well, let me tell you, Ed, if you keep doing this, doing this thing, it might not be happening. But if you do what I'm going to tell you to do, you're going to be able to be there for your daughter's wedding." And this shocked him, right? And this made him create a story in his mind. This is the important thing. So he got his attention, he knew what was important to him, and he created a story. A story that, oh my God, if I don't do this, here's the pain that I'm going to experience. I'm not going to be there for Bella's wedding. And then this created in him a trigger. and admire it. It created in him a trigger. Every time he needed to take care of his health, he thinks, Bella's wedding. Bella's wedding. And this is a trigger for him that every time he just says Bella's wedding, he just has to do. This is the reason why he needs to take care of his health. And oftentimes reasons why are tied to people. So I want to prove this person wrong, or I want to be there and I want to honor this person. And in the Joko Willing podcast, and the Diary of CEO podcast with Joko Willing, he was talking about having a strong enough why, like I think Stephen Butler was saying, like, for example, if a girl cheated on you, you want to prove her wrong and prove like you were good enough and everything, you have a strong enough why. And then Joko said, well, yes. And also, if your girlfriend died and you promised her that you would do this and you need to honor this promise, this could be a powerful why. And this made it click for me. This, I was like, that's the thing that I need to just use. This, like when you have people that died for something and you know that you need to do this for them, it's a really powerful why. Like oftentimes just reasons why associated with death is extremely powerful, because death is the ultimate suffering, is the ultimate sacrifice. And so if someone sacrificed his life for you, this is a strong enough why. So if you're a Christian, Christ's sacrifice should be enough. But I was not planning to go there yet, to go on this topic right now. Not planning it out, but just I was thinking just like this is a powerful motivation. I think this is the strongest motivation. When you think about someone that gave his life for you, it's hard. And this is the kind of thing that makes me like tear up and cry in front of movies. When there are like guys, strong men, that don't know each other and just they find a worthy cause and they want to save these people and they just die for them because they love them and they just make the ultimate sacrifice for them. This is a strong enough why. This is the kind of why that you need. And for me, I was thinking, okay, I had my uncle. He didn't sacrifice himself for me, but he died, and I remembered speaking to him about how, and imagining myself being able to offer him a great life when I will be successful. I'll get him a great car and I'll be able to make him travel. And this was my only uncle I had. This was the only uncle I had that was with me since I was a kid. And I know he loved me, and he once told my mother to not worry about me because I was strong. And I was like, and when he died, of course it was hard for me. It was like, it's someone that dies, it's not easy, but when I remember this, it makes me tear up. It makes me like emotional. And I think a trigger for me, for example, could be saying his name. I must continue to do this just because I need to enjoy my life and not waste it because he doesn't have this life anymore. People that are dead don't have the luxury that we have. So we must do our best here because they're not here yet. They're not here now. We must do our best right now because we have the luxury to have this life. And so we cannot mess it up. We cannot waste it. I know if my uncle was here, was like, he would be like, yeah, don't. And I didn't actually go to his funeral, right? Because of this. I was like, okay, he's just like, what am I going to do? Right? What am I going to do? because it was far away, right? He was not living near me when this happened. What am I going to do? I had to focus on my things, like just make my life worth it, right? It was not worth it for me to go there, even though sometimes I just, I regret kind of not having gone there. And yeah, having a strong enough why is this kind of thing. And I think it's really hard to replace with something else. Like having a why being like having a great home, having a great car, mansion, and having material things, or being such a great person. It can be motivating, but it might not get you through the hardest times possible. And this is what you need. You need to have a strong enough reason that is someone else. You do this for someone else. And being of service and love this person so much, you will do anything it takes to actually get there. And if you have this kind of why, there's nothing stopping you. Great. And so I was listening to a motivational speech after that, and I do listen to a lot of these. It's just Ben Lyon Scott, something like this. They just like make a compilations of different motivation speakers and make them like just really good with the good music on the background and everything. I like it. And I think it was I don't remember the speaker, but he was saying like, you got to be able to push your buttons, right? Not let people push your buttons and be able to control you and make you angry, but be able to push your buttons, right? And I was like, this is the leverage and this is the trigger that you need to be able to create for yourself, right? Just like Ed Mylett created the trigger Bella's wedding, and this was his button, right? He clicked on this button, he said this, and boom, he's gone. Like, just let's go to the gym. There's no other choice. Let's go. And so this made me really think of this trigger that I want to have for myself. What can be the trigger for you in your life? Who do you want to do this for? Who is maybe not here anymore that you want to do this for? To honor them, to show them that their sacrifice was worth it, to show them that they're not alive anymore, and you have this life, and you're going to honor them by making the most of your life. And so yeah, this brings me to the last point. I think I'll just get there real quick and get to the rock thing, right? Because I didn't talk about this up until now. I didn't think it would take me this long. Anyway, so I was listening to Alex Hormozy speak on the podcast, and he talked about beliefs, character traits, and skills. And this is why you're stuck. These are the only thing these are the only reason why you could be stuck. I think so. Maybe it's like undecisive. Like when you're undecisive, this is like the main thing. But in business, when you're doing something, you have sometimes like a bottleneck. And the reason for this is because you don't have either the beliefs that you need, the character traits, or the skills. So ask yourself this question. This is what I wrote to myself. Ask yourself, what's keeping me stuck right now? Is it my beliefs? My traits? My ability to see it through? My ability to stay disciplined? And my ability to have patience to do this thing right and doing it long enough? Or is it my skills, not knowing how, right? What is it preventing me right now? And so then I asked myself, okay, how could I apply this to faith? Because to me, faith is the number one priority, right? And then there's health, then there's business, then there's relationships. Maybe I'm wrong doing this, but I think in the period of my life right now, it should be the right thing to do. I'm actually just taking a bet on that, but we'll see. And so how could this apply to faith? And so at one point, I went to a walk last Sunday. And every Sunday I kind of do this in this period of my life. I go on a walk without anything, without any listening to anything. It's pretty calm outside, and I just go on a walk by myself. And I pray the rosary, and then I ask God for forgiveness, and I pray. And this time I prayed, and I asked God for what He wanted me to do. And I didn't just ask for what I wanted, because oftentimes when we pray, we just ask God for what we want, right? And so I asked Him, okay, God, what do you want from me? And so then I just waited. Didn't have much answers, not right away at least. And then I thought, okay, just take some guesses. What do you think God would want from you? I mean, you've read the Bible. I'm a Christian. You've read the Bible. You kind of like learned about God. You know a good amount of things. So what would take a guess? And so I was like, okay, He wants me to not sin. He wants me to increase my faith in Him. He wants me to do the best with what He's given me, right? Because He's given me plenty of blessings, and I'm not maybe using them as much as I should, or I could. And then He wants me to share the gospel. He wants me to share it to others. So, not sin, increase faith, and share with others, right? Because I think do the best with what He's given you is kind of ties into having faith. But I think what comes first is belief, right? So it's faith, and then applying this faith. And so it's not sinning and doing the best with what He's given you. And then when you've done these things, you just share it with people, right? So these are the 4 things that I think will be like, are things that God wants me to do. And I was asking myself this, and I'm going to get to how you can apply this to your faith. And then I'm going to get to the rock thing to solve pretty much any problems pretty simply. So this is what it is. So I thought I can apply this to my life. And by the way, I need to make the most out of what He's given me part. This is how you, like, I started just making a big list of all the blessings God has given me. And I made a big list, and I was like, okay, I have to give God a good ROI on His investment. He's invested all of these things in me. And all these other people have invested in me, right? I need to make their investment worth it. And so I need to give God a great return on investment. And so I thought, okay, I sinned this week, and so I need to stop doing this, right? So this is my problem, that I'm stuck on like just keeping like in a cycle of sinning. Not too much, but every now and then I just keep sinning. And the goal is to stop sinning, hopefully, and stop doing bad things and just distract. To me, like a sin is even like just asking God for something and not doing your part for it, right? And you got distracted on that, like, what are you doing, right? Come on. Or maybe having fear, not trusting God. And anyway. And so I was like, okay, do I believe enough? That's the part of Alex Hormozy's belief, character traits, and skills. Do I believe enough that sinning is wrong? If not, you need to define why sinning is wrong and remember it. Dig it into your brain. Really, like, just anchor it here. Write the reason why, and then read them every day. Read every day why sinning is wrong. All these reasons why it's wrong. And then once you have this belief, right? This is I think the most important thing that you need to have. If you don't have the belief, the character trait doesn't matter because you're not going to have them if you don't have the belief. And the skills doesn't matter because you're not going to apply them if you don't have the belief. And so do I have the skill of not sinning? And recognizing why I sinned and when I'm about to, and putting the odds in my favor so I do not sin. Controlling my environment, planning for in case my will falls short, and solving this problem. Because basically, like, just sinning is a problem, right? And you need to solve it, and you can solve it. And And so, yeah, do I have the skill to solve this problem? And I think the skill involves all these things I just told you about. Controlling your environment, being able to recognize when you are about to sin, right? Recognize the patterns, and putting the odds in your favor, and planning in case something goes wrong. And so then I ask myself, okay, do I have the character trait, the discipline of applying this skill and acting on my belief continually to turn it into a habit and an identity that makes it so I am the type of person that just does not sin, right? I'm the type of person that just does, I don't do that, right? I don't get distracted. This is my identity, right? I don't do that. I don't smoke. That's not what I do. It's easy for me to not smoke, right? Because I just don't do it. That's it. It's easy for me to not even try. I just don't do it, and my environment is conducive to that. So I'm thinking right now that the belief that so this is what I wrote down these notes. The belief that we are all sinners and will always be is not true and not useful. So in the prayer, Hail Mary, we say this: pray for us sinners. And so you identify as a sinner. So I think it should be maybe turned away into pray for us that sin, right? We do sin. It's not useful to consider us as sinners, because if you consider yourself as a sinner and it's your identity, why would you change? Like it's you, it's who you are. It's so much harder to change if this is who you are. But if you don't stop identify with it and you just say, okay, I do this sometimes, it's not me, you're more likely to stop and reduce how much you sin, and at one point hopefully stop it, right? And this is how I think you become a saint, right? You stop sinning, and at this point you just become a really good person. And so yeah, I think this was useful to me to increase my faith and to stop sinning. And yeah, let's talk about the rocks. The rocks the rocks technique to stop the rocks technique to solving any problem. And pretty simply. And this is the only thing that he does, really. I think that is making all of what he does possible. It's his state. His state in his body, his state in his mind, and his determination. Let me tell you exactly what I mean by that. So I was reading the post of Tim Ferriss on Tony Robbins, and he was talking about changing your state to solve your problems. Because if you're in a low state, you cannot solve your problems. And if you're in a high state, solutions will come to you very easily. And I was thinking of the rock. And I was like, okay, how would the rock solve this problem, right? I was like, it would not even be a problem for them, for the rock, for successful people like that. It would not even be a problem. The rock just would be like almost angry, determined, like it would just attack this problem, just look at it, and it would just destroy. Right? Because he's just in such a state. He's going to find solutions. He's going to find the problem. Okay, if we do this and this, and he's going to attack. He's going to be decisive, in a high state, moving, jumping. And the way to get into a high state, like Tim Ferriss was saying on his post, it was like, get under the sun. Go outside, move, jump, do some squats, do some push-ups. And you can see Tony Robbins just talking about this is how you can do it, because if you don't do it, and he just makes just freaking insane gestures, right? This is like his state. He's just energized. He's determined to actually make things happen. And this is how you do it. Like, this is how you just, simply the state of mind puts you in such a high leverage position in your mind and in your body to find solutions and just terminate your problems. And so if you just look and you have your shoulders down and front, and your chin down, just lower your face, open up your chest, and just go move fast, do some squats, push-ups, increase your state, move faster, jump, be under the sun, and this increases your state. And then you can find solutions better. And I think successful people maximize their time in which they are in a great state. This is how they do it. And they don't stop moving and stay in bad down position and bad posture. They're always in a great state and have a great body posture. So think of Andrew Tate. He's just like always, like his back is very straight at all times, right? Tony Robbins is just like always like in a great position as well. This is how they do it. And yeah, these were the main things that I got. And I accidentally this morning, trying to find what to talk about on this episode, I saw that there was a light outside. The sun was coming up, and I went outside, and I went. It was like I'm lucky to have like just trees around me, and it's pretty good looking. And there's nature, and there was birds singing, and I had the sun on me. It was calm, and I was in nature under the sun. And in 15 minutes, I got done. Like I knew what I was going to talk about in this episode, when sometimes it takes me like 2 hours to do this. And in 15 minutes, I did this. And the way I did this is just by getting outside, not staying in my room, not staying on my office, on my computer, getting out. And this will help you. I promise you. You'll have a lot more like great ideas. You'll have clarity and peace of mind. You just go out, ask yourself questions, ask yourself how could you solve this problem? Ask yourself the essential question. What's the one essential thing that I could do that could make everything else easier or unnecessary to whatever thing you want to solve this problem in business? And ask yourself this question in your mind, and have a notepad if you want. I had my phone, and I started using the voice to text feature on my phone, which I had stopped using. I don't know why, but this decreases the friction between your ideas and actually the recording them, right? And so when I do this, it's way easier for me to just record ideas and remember great things and actually take notes on things that you learn. And so I started using this, and I was able to get done in 15 minutes more than I did usually in 2 hours. So yeah, this was a technique. And yeah, I have, by the way, the last thing I wanted to say, which is pretty important, was this. When you make a plan and are determined to stop being distracted, and you put in place every single thing that you need to do to stop all the external sources of distractions, all the external ways or internal ways in which the devil could get to you, he will come for you harder. So be ready. Because this is something that I noticed multiple times. And when I just start, okay, I have no apps on my phone like social media. I think I still have LinkedIn, but I don't use it too much, right? But I don't have anything else. I was planning to stop every distraction, every way I could get distracted, and anything that could prevent me from getting to my goals and increasing my faith in God. And I promise you, I saw the devil work. I saw the devil work in me, in my life, and make me try to struggle and prevent me from getting there. Because once I get there, and once you get there, it's becoming very hard for the devil to get to you, right? And so he doesn't want this to happen. And so he will make it as hard as possible for you to actually do this. Now, if you still manage to do it, and you can, I've done it already last year, but then I've fallen short. It's one of the best things that you could do. Delete and eliminate, just put yourself in the way and control your environment in a way so that you are the less likely possible to get distracted by anything else that doesn't bring you closer to God or to your goals. And yeah, I think that's it. If you like this episode, subscribe, like it, and share it with someone that you think it might help. Hey, listen, even if you're not a Christian, if you are a Christian, what I talk about will definitely serve you a lot. If you're not a Christian, it still serves you tremendously. Like, you see all the things I talked about, it's not just Christian things, it's just things that will help you out. And even this thing on the devil, right? You can think of yourself as like the lower you, the old you and the new you, right? So the old you is like kind of the devil trying to keep you in the old you and where you are right now and preventing you from growing and become the new you, right? Anyway, thanks for your time. I appreciate you staying up until here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.